everyone. Welcome back to Newfound Happy Hour. My name is Sarah, and this is a podcast where we talk about local people in Newfoundland doing cool things, telling cool stories. I think I might actually change it up for the new year. I have a couple ideas to kind of revamp this, but for now, that is what we have been doing. And this is actually the end of the second season of this podcast, which is weird. Time goes by so fast. I don't know where this year went. It just keeps going by faster and faster, and I hate aging, so it scares me. But I wanted to end this episode on a positive note, obviously, a motivational note, maybe inspire everyone to reflect on the year that they just had, and also just think about all the good things that you did do, because I know a lot of us look back at the goals that we had and maybe we didn't reach them all for this year. I was just looking at my list before starting to record, and I definitely did not do all the things that I set out to do, but I am proud of the ones that I did do, so I'm going to talk about those afterwards. But yeah, so I wanted to talk to someone today who could kind of give those vibes, and this is someone that I really liked her social media presence for a while. Just seems very real and positive, and yeah, I think that's what we need going into a new year. But before we go into 2024 and all the goals that we have for that, I think we need to reflect on this year and just kind of talk about that. So she talks about all the things she's involved in. I thought I was busy, but she is involved in so many different things. And yeah, I'll let her explain it herself. So this is my conversation with Anna. So today I'm here with Anna. Do you want to start with where you're from and your age?
Sure. So I'm Anna Murphy. I am 32 and I'm from St. John's, Newfoundland.
Love it. I always start with how we know each other. I'm sure we have met at some point, but I don't really remember. I just know that we've followed each other for a while, and your whole social media presence is very positive and confident, and you are involved in a lot of things.
I am.
Yeah. So I was like, there must be something cool to talk with her about. Turns out there's a lot of things. So kind of a loaded question. I guess, can you talk a little bit about all the different activities, jobs, organizations you're involved with?
Sure. So I guess my number one is Yellow Rose, and I am the owner and designer behind the hand-dyed and printed clothing brand Yellow Rose. And we have a shop on the second floor of Posey Row on Duckworth Street in St. John's. I also have an online store, and Yellow Rose has existed in various capacities since 2015, but kind of as it is now, for only about a year and a half. I also am the executive director of the Newfoundland and Labrador Rose of Tralee, which is an Irish cultural organization that celebrates women 18 to 30 years old who are movers and shakers in the community, really big into volunteering. And we send one selected person every 2 years to the Rose of Tralee Festival in Ireland, all expenses paid trip to Ireland. We also volunteer lots at home together. I also am the co-chair for the Wine Women Wellbeing with Stephanie Dackins, and that is an organization that's global, and it creates events for women to have a night out once a month to focus on themselves and meet other women who are moms or business leaders or just looking to meet new friends, because it's so hard to make friends as an adult, I think. Mm-hmm. And then on the back of that is where I have made all my friends as an adult. I'm absolutely obsessed with dance. I am a late in life dancer, and I dance with the Arch Method and Fierce. And I really and truly would be in the studio every single day if I could find the time from everything else, because it's my absolute joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. I was wondering about the Rose of Charlie. Is it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I had heard about it, but I was going to ask you about that too. It almost looked a little bit like pageant-y, or is that I just had a quick look at the website.
Yeah, so it looks and smells a lot like a pageant, except for that. And I think pageantry in Newfoundland and Labrador is a bit different than it is in other parts of the world. But we are selecting somebody to represent. We never use the word winner. We select somebody to represent the entire class of that year. And that person gets to go to the Rosa Chili Festival, but they are selected based on their public speaking and their community involvement and like living in their Irishness, because it is a festival based in Irish heritage. And we have had some seriously unbelievable women come through our program and have gone on to do unbelievable things and are so fortunate to be still involved in the program. But for me, the Rosa Truly, I was selected in 2016, which is what started my journey with the organization. And I have made friends from all over the world, and all
Mm-hmm.
of those people are like the movers and shakers in their community. It's so inspiring to like surround yourself with that at home and then also to have like a global network of people. So for me, it was like a very life-changing experience.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. And then obviously your business, you said like that's your main baby. How did that get started?
So I actually was working in clinical research when I was in MUN doing business, and I was going to go to med school. That was my plan. I was the youngest lead study coordinator in North America at the time. I was literally 18 years old, and I it just like wasn't where my heart needed to be. My partner one day when I was like getting ready to do applications and stuff for med school or like look at med schools, he was like, because we've been together a really long time, he's like, I really support you. I love you so much. But do you realize you cry literally every day when you come home from work? And I had like a moment when I kind of like drank too much wine with my mom and I was like, I'm going to art school. And she was like, okay. And I was like, okay. And yeah, I applied to some schools and I got in a few places, but didn't really want to leave my partner or like my parents at the time. So I did the textile studies program at the College of the North Atlantic and learned so much about like craft and creating a business with I think like a lot of people think that if you have a handmade item and business based in handmade, that it's very hobby and that you can't make a living that way. But that's not really how the economy works right now. Is like you have access to a global economy if you have the right school like tools. Um, so for me, that has been really valuable in like showing that it doesn't have to be hobby; it can be your full-time job. And yeah, Yellow Rose was born. I've kind of been all over the place. I was at the Kitty Vitty plantation, had a studio there for a while, really amazing art incubation center. And then I moved to Bonta Vista and had a shop out there. But I'm literally so towny, it hurts.
Mhm.
And I just was unable to cut it. Bonta Vista. I just needed to be closer to, I don't know, everything, all my comforts, which are in St. John's.
I
So
feel like
then
I would
moved
be like
back.
that too.
Yeah, it was amazing. It's such a beautiful place. And they have a really incredible community of business owners out there, but it just wasn't for me. And I think that was a good learning experience because my partner is from Fogo Island. So I think he always would have wanted to try living rurally together. And we checked that off and decided not for us.
Fair.
So
Yeah.
now I'm back and I have a great shop down in Posey Row.
Awesome. Yeah. And so you said you've been there a year and a half?
Yeah, so during COVID, a friend of mine, Molly Margaret, who is an illustrator, she asked if I wanted to share. Well, we connected on sharing a studio space. And so I had a small table basically in the Posey Row and Co building during COVID to kind of like get me out of the house and like start making things after my move. And that turned into like opportunities within the building and getting to have the store, which is something that like I never imagined in my brain. Like I really like the idea of having a store in downtown St. John's for me felt like it's something that was really far away.
Mhm.
And Posey Row and Co. allows like affordable spaces, and I am a second floor store, but that is like closer than I ever thought I would get, and it's allowing me to kind of grow my business in a way that maybe one day I will have a like street level store, or maybe this is like perfect for me for right now
Mhm.
as I grow my business because I have always bit of the mindset and literally so many people are going to be like that's dumb, but I try not to grow Yellow Rose bigger than I can afford it to be, so I try not to take on like a lot of debt um, to grow my business because during COVID Yellow Rose was still able to kind of exist. And the only reason it was because of that, you know?
Right.
So that has always been something that I have used to grow my business, which probably means that Yellow Rose has grown slower than other businesses might, but that also has allowed me to keep it going. So
Right.
that has been really valuable for me. And I just started a new company called Creative Spark, and it's a social media company. And basically, we come to events like weddings and conferences or special days. We have a bachelorette booked before Christmas, and I kind of like come and join the party and take all of these special videos and photos, kind of like you would hope your friends would, and then they never do, and it just ends up at the
Mm-hmm.
worst angle ever. So, yeah, that has been amazing. And it's also been good for me to kind of put the shop onto the shoulders of other people on my team and allow me to kind of get into a new passion project while Yellow Rose still exists and grows on the side.
Right. That's so cool. That's a great idea because yeah, I feel like a lot of my friends are getting married, bachelorettes, all these things. Even just like a birthday party, you want like videos, but when you're having a good time, you don't think about that all the time.
Yeah, or the people take them and you're like, wow, this would have been so beautiful if this person knew anything about taking
Yeah.
videos.
Yeah. That's awesome. And what's the hardest part about being self-employed and running your own businesses?
I think that twofold answer. One is like keeping myself on track. And I frequently get really caught up in, and I'm getting better at this, I guess, but I get caught up in thinking I should be further ahead, or I see something and I like set a goal, and this goal is probably not actually realistic. So it's like a fine line between reaching for your goals and really pushing for business growth. And then at the same time, being realistic that I'm only like one person. And I do have an amazing group of people on my team and around me that support Yellow Rose. But yeah, there's like figuring out what that line is and how to grow without burning myself out, and also having joy in my life and learning to relax because I'm not that
Hmm.
great at that. And then I think another thing that I find really challenging, and this I guess plays into that, is that I think when people know that you're self-employed, they assume that your schedule is the most flexible. And often it's like the opposite because I don't have a boss to tell me, no, I can't take vacation. But if I go on vacation, it might mean that my shop is closed or something like that. So that is something that I often struggle with. It's like communicating my boundaries, which I am working on, but that's like not always an easy thing to do.
Hmm. No, definitely. Especially when you want to feel like you're putting everything into it and but yeah, you still need to draw those lines. I used to be like, well, I'm still very busy, but I used to be juggling a lot more like different activities and things like that. And
Mhm.
I don't know how I did it now. But yeah, at some point you need to like draw a line and be like, this is gonna burn me out.
Yeah, and I started counseling this year, which was like the first time I'd ever done any sort of counseling regarding like my mental health, or like even just like taking a look at my life and reevaluating what's important to me. And from that, the most valuable thing that I have is like a routine. And I basically decided what is absolutely non-negotiable for me. And the number one thing that brings me joy every single day is every morning I get up, even if like I have something to do really early, I will still get up to accommodate it. I like to take 15 minutes of fresh air, and that fresh air could be a walk. But if I get up and I'm like, I do not have pants in me today, so I'm like,
Mm.
maybe I'm just like sitting out on my back patio drinking my coffee. But that 15 minutes of fresh air literally changes the trajectory of my entire day. It's just like I just
Hmm.
have to have fresh air to be a better person. Um, and then that turns into maybe reading my book for 15 minutes, or now I'm having breakfast because I'm sitting down and I'm like taking the time for me. And that is what keeps it all together. That is the glue for
Yeah.
sure. And when my partner and I first got together, we've been together 13 years. My mom told him that like when I'm in a bad mood or like I can't focus when I was little, she would take us to the park. So basically she would walk us like dogs because we had too much energy and just like needed to refocus. And he still kind of reminds me of that now, that like that is when I am at my best, is when I have a little bit of outdoors time.
Hmm. Yeah, it makes sense though. And it's funny you say that because like this is like like the end of the year, my kind of wrap up of the year. And I started counseling on Monday.
Congratulations. It's such a big
Thank you.
step.
Yeah, you too. It is. And it was like one of my New Year's resolutions. And I was like, well, December still counts as sometime this year. So,
Mhm.
yeah, no, I think that's awesome. And I think, yeah, it definitely helps, especially when you're super busy and have a lot of things to, I guess that you're responsible for and trying to balance.
Yeah, last year I went to the shift event that Emily King and Gina Keeping have. And they do it. Last year it was in January, I believe. And we like set all these goals and we wrote letters to ourselves. And they are mailing them to us like over the next few weeks so that we could see kind of like where we were in January. But I like had a boatload of trauma to deal with and was kind of like having a really hard time last winter with my mental health. And I kind of like raised my hand at the conference and was like, what do you do when you can like you're barely existing? How do I like also set business goals? And Gina just straight up was like, well, maybe this is not your year. Like I had set the word action for this year. And then what that meant to me was like, I'm going to get 10,000 Instagram followers on Yellow Rose, and I'm going to grow my business by this, and I'm going to take on this and this and this. And then she was like, maybe your year is about like rest and restoration and taking care of yourself and figuring out this mental health thing.
Hmm.
And that was like, it was like somebody gave me permission to figure it out. And that like I don't know how this year would have turned out if I hadn't prioritized that. And I needed somebody to like give me that permission, which is amazing because when you go to counseling, you have somebody giving you that permission constantly to take
Hmm.
care of yourself. And I always need that because I
Hmm.
put myself like lower on my list.
Hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. That's a cool idea too. I wrote down my resolutions, but yeah, having like a letter to yourself is a cool idea.
And it was also like a deadline because I was like, I'm accountable to Gina.
Right. And you, just when we were like talking about doing this podcast, you mentioned you also were doing a confidence-based podcast. I guess that kind of ties into everything we were just talking about. But do you want to talk a little bit about that or like your own confidence journey?
Yeah, sure. So, I feel like everyone on my Instagram when this gets released is going to be like, you've been talking about this forever and you haven't done it. But I am dropping a podcast called Yellow Rose Colored Glasses, and it's going to be about kind of like the people in my universe that inspire me and also living my life like I know that there are a million shitty things happening in this universe, and a million shitty things have happened to me, just like they've happened to everybody. And I cannot live my life like sitting in that dark puddle all the time. And my body is not perfect and my life is not perfect. But that doesn't mean like I can't celebrate where I'm at right now and kind of like focus on that every step of the way. But for me, I have never had a problem with feeling like I can't do something. I've probably had the opposite problem. Um, but also, I don't know if you've ever felt like this, that when you have like something on your heart that you really want to do, you also need to like wait for it to be the right time for like all of the juice in your brain to come together to really
Hmm.
be able to put it out properly. And for
Yeah.
me, that's what's like going on with Yellow Rose Colored Glasses. But yeah, so it's going to be like, I pretty much have the blog all done and it's going to be about like body positivity and confidence and just like things that work for me. I don't want it to feel like it's advice because it's not. It's just like a recall of what I get to do in my life and
Hmm.
how sometimes I'm surprised at things that I post and people are like, wow, you're so brave. You posted your dance costume and I'm like wearing next to nothing. And I'm like straight up a size 16 human. But in my brain, I'm like, this is the only body I have.
Hmm. Yeah.
This is it. Like how can I was not happier when I was smaller or bigger or whatever. It has everything to do with like what's inside my soul.
Hmm.
So I guess like I had such low body confidence when I was growing up. And probably when I was about like 21, 22, I like had that moment. And I'm sure everybody has had it when you're like sitting in the pile of clothes that you just tried on and it all feels horrible and nothing fits and you feel gross. And I was like crying and upset and I was late for my friend's party. And I was like, how many times am I going to do this? Like, how many
Hmm.
more moments are we going to have like this? Like, this is pitiful and ridiculous. And the only person who can change it is me.
Hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, sorry. I just like, I've always loved clothes. So I just started buying clothes that I loved more than I hated myself, which sounds so sad, but it's true. And then wearing things that I loved and felt really good in helped me get to a place where I also then loved what was underneath it.
Hmm.
But it was a long journey, and it's a journey that like I continue to work on.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you can get to like a certain mindset because I've had like a similar, I guess, like fight with just like your inner voice. And yeah, you get to a point for me, like for whatever reason, when I turned 27, I was like, I just can't care. I cannot care anymore. I can't put time into it. Yeah. And I don't really know what led to that. I think I just got tired of it at one point or another. But like for me, I realized that like we aren't going like your friend's party. Like I'm not going to my friend's party critiquing what all my friends are wearing. I'm not
No, you
noticing.
don't remember any of them or their
No,
bodies.
it's so true. Like I look back at pictures and I have friends who like have had babies and gained weight, lost weight, whatever. And I when I think about like, oh, that birthday party of mine, I don't think about how they looked in that time. Like, and you look at a picture, you're like, oh yeah, they have changed. But like it's not what you remember. So yeah, I think that's all very important to remember.
Yeah, a friend of mine, in my dance class. So it was during the period of the class where we're all wearing our costumes to get ready for the show. And the costumes are typically like based in lingerie. And she was pregnant and very like pretty far along to the point where she was showing. And when she told us all, she was like, I can't believe you guys didn't notice. And I'm like, yeah, because we don't look at each other's bodies. The only person I'm looking at in dance is myself,
Yep.
like in the mirror. No, I was like, you could have been 8 months pregnant and I never would have noticed. And then I was like, imagine being in a class of 16 other people and we're so worried about what everyone else thinks, and not one single person noticed.
Right.
Nobody was looking.
Hmm. No, it's so true. And I don't know if this is related, or I mean, like I said, you don't even have to say the topics, but you did say that you were involved in like speaking engagements. So how did you get started with that? Is that kind of
Yes.
because I think that does tie into like what you mentioned about like speaking nicely to yourself and having that self-confidence.
Yeah, I think that I debated when I was in junior high and high school and got to take on some really amazing opportunities. And previous to joining like debate and public speaking, I was like shy and had very low self-confidence. And that also kind of contributed to what my brother calls like, the existence of Anna Murphy is just how I am today and kind of like this confident monster that I've created that is like so sure of herself in every way. Um, that, yeah, I just like when I see opportunities come my way, I am very quick to just say yes to them. And that has panned out and kind of given me the trail of life that I have. So I'm trying to think about when this was. I guess it was like 2019. They had a Pecha Kucha event in St. John's. I don't know if you know what that is. It's basically like a quick TED talk. I don't remember the exact time, but it's say like under 7 minutes. And you have 20 slides and you really like race through them to get through a topic. And a year previous, I had been like very violently sexually assaulted, and I hadn't told anyone in my circle of friends. Nobody knew. My parents didn't know, nobody knew. And I had like an opportunity to talk about like art and trauma and how it helped me kind of like begin to open up and process what I wasn't even sure of at the time. Um, and so that was like the first time that I got to do that. And it felt really liberating to share my story and also to open that story in a way that could be helpful for other people that I didn't realize. I think like sometimes when we do things in our life, like if you post something online or you say things or you're involved in things, you don't really realize how many people are watching and how impactful that is for people.
Hmm.
Because it's just like you're just doing your life. And what's normal for you is normal for you, but that doesn't mean that that's normal for other people. So that was amazing. And then I got to do Wine Women Wellbeing chat, and that was before I was involved. Did some podcasts and stuff, but basically, like I always just try to say yes. Like if it feels like it's in my lane, I try to say yes because And if I have time with for it, of course. But it just, I don't know. It's like given me so many amazing connections, like connecting with you today, and maybe connecting people who are or listening to
Mhm.
this today. Just like those opportunities aren't just gonna come if you don't open yourself to them and say yes to them.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's true. I find like with this podcast, there's people who I haven't seen since high school or I used to work with, and I'll see them out or they'll like message me and say like a nice comment or like, oh, I really liked how they said this or that. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even think that you were listening. And like it like this is truly something that I just do for fun and like I just find it's a positive thing to put out there.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's almost kind of like validating to hear that someone else related to it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like sometimes you don't know, like the things that are coming my way and that I'm saying yes to, or that I'm absorbing and kind of thinking, like, oh God, I needed that message today because I always think that. I think that the universe has a way of saying what you need to hear, whether you want it
Mm,
or not.
I am with
That
you
sometimes
on
you're
that.
that message for people.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, that's true. I love that. Okay, well, I just thought of another question. Like with all of those things that you're doing, do you have much of a Christmas break? Are you like, what's the rest of this? Because I mean, this month is just busy anyway, but like, how is that gonna go for you?
Yeah. So I don't really take much of a Christmas break, which is probably not surprising to you at all. Um, However, I am like in my happy space when I am making things. So even though December is really crazy for making orders and everything like that, like I love doing that.
Mhm.
Catch me here puttering. I make all my things at home and I like to do that because that means I can kind of access making things at any time of the day. I don't have to get ready and go to like a studio to do it.
Mhm.
Um, so you like I'm always listening to podcasts and I'll just be puttering around the house, with my headphones on, doing my thing. And that does bring me joy and relaxation, which is amazing. But not much of a Christmas break. However, downtown shopping in the winter is obviously much slower. So January, February, March last year, I did really like lean into reading and relaxing.
Mhm.
I
Okay, so that's like
probably
the
had
the downtime after
yeah,
all the
and I
craziness.
also will take a little vacation and yeah, I hadn't read a book probably that I'd never been forced to in my entire life. Like outside of like if school didn't make me
Mhm.
read it, I've never read a book, I don't think. Um so this year my ultimate New Year's resolution was to read 12 books
Okay.
and I think I'm at 42.
Oh my God.
So it like yeah, it like
Okay,
gave
that
me
was
a habit.
my agenda is here somewhere. That was one of mine too, was to read like one book a month. I think I'm at five, like for the whole year. I actually need a
But you
challenge.
read five.
Oh yeah, proud of it for sure. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think well in this episode too, like where it's the end of the year, I think I might like review all those resolutions and like see how I did.
Hmm.
Um, is there any, do you have any for 2024 or like you said before you had a word for 2023. I think I have one for 2024. Do you have one for 2024 yet?
Well, on the backs of having action last year, and then it sort of like backfired in the best way possible,
Mm.
and meant kind of like action of taking care of myself. I think I'm getting married in the fall.
Oh,
Um,
congratulations.
Thank you. And that has been exciting. And we have like lots of amazing things happening around me. My best friend is having a baby. I can't talk about it too much because I literally cry every single time I
Mhm.
think about it. And my other best friend is getting married. Like it feels like 2024 is going to be the year for celebrating. And I have just been thinking about how I want what I am doing to be impactful when I am working. And when I am not working, I want it to be impactful for myself. And that sometimes means rest. Like I feel like I'm
Mhm.
really changing my mentality moving into this next year on what's important and really prioritizing that and spending time with people like my nan um, while I can, as like awful as it is to say.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, 2024 I think is going to be the year for like joy and prioritizing impact in the simplest way possible.
Love that. Yeah, and it can be like the impact, like you said, the impact of taking a break.
Yes, and like getting counseling and like taking care of your shit and being responsible for what's going on, which is what I think your 30s are for. It's like cleaning up all the mess that you made in your 20s.
Hmm. Yeah, I just turned 29 in September, so I'm like, I have a year left to make mistakes. I don't know. But I think, but kind of like what you said
Oh no, I
before,
keep
like,
making them.
yeah. But I think like you said earlier, like healing and growth, it's not like once you're done or like once you have a good mindset, okay, that's done. Like it's you're
Yes.
always working towards it and everything. So yeah, it makes
Yeah,
sense.
you have to like keep calling yourself on your bullshit, which I'm like getting better at.
Hmm.
But it's hard because you're like, you really have to take your ego back
Yep.
constantly.
Yep, completely. Yeah, so I always end with advice. So not even advice that like doesn't even have to be about like owning your own business or anything we talked about, just like advice that you always share with people or that someone shared with you.
So like, so I feel like the advice that I always give when I get asked this question is that like a number of years ago, I was like in a bit of a dark rain cloud. I always describe like my general sadness as I'm stuck under a dark rain cloud. And I was listening to VOCM, which I never listened to, I'll be honest,
Mm.
because I always got the playlist pumping, you know? And there was this guy on talking about like how he was going through addictions and he lost his children and he was having a really hard time. And he like very casually said, which I found out after is like a quote from someone else, but very casually said, just because it wasn't your fault doesn't mean it's not your responsibility. And it was like in that moment, in that car, I literally was like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was an awakening in my whole body. And it just felt like I cannot continue to like be like this. I can't be like this. I have to continue. Um, and that was really eye-opening for me because like I think it's really easy in our lives as like shitty things happen and just like life happens big time um to like sit in your circumstance and like I think it's okay for a while to sit in your circumstance,
Mm-hmm.
but at a certain point, you know, your life is ticking by and you can't always just blame things on other people. Like it's your responsibility to take care of yourself and to keep going in your life. Um, and like from that lately, my advice really is that I have noticed when I'm like gone for a walk or something like that, and it's like a rainy, old, horrible day out, and so many people will be like, "Oh my God, girl, sure, like it's horrible out, it's miserable out, everything's miserable," and I'm like, every single day is not going to be sunshine, perfect, no wind, warm, but every single day I got to get out there.
Mm-hmm.
So like I have to like learn to love the winter and I have to learn to love the rain and I have to learn to like love all of that and just keep going because I can't live my life miserable waiting for the next perfect day because
Yeah.
on average that's not what your life looks like. Our life doesn't look like the perfect happy sunshine day.
Yeah.
It looks like the opposite most of the time
Especially
and
not
it's
in
our
Newfoundland.
responsibility.
Never in
Exactly. It's our
Newfoundland.
responsibility. We can't like decide that we're always working towards the best day because the best day is the top of that average, you
Mm.
know? It's not the average at all.
Yeah.
So that is my advice. Like figure out how to I have just been trying to figure out how to be happy in the not so perfect day and kind of embrace that in the best way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who would benefit from hearing that. My word for 2024, I was going to mention this like at the beginning, but I'll mention it now. Is my word is intention
Okay.
because I feel like I've ran into a lot of situations this year where people are acting where they aren't like they don't have an intention. They're not thinking
Yeah.
about why they're doing what they're doing. They're not thinking about um yeah, I guess like what they mean when they say or do certain things. And like I feel like I've probably felt that way before. So for me and for like what I'm accepting from other people is I want to know the intention. And
Mhm.
I think like it's totally fair to ask that of like a certain situation or person or yourself. And I think that kind of ties into that because I feel like there's some people who may act on like I don't know, like what you said, like they might be going through something and not really thinking about how they're handling it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think like I really got into the routine of checking off boxes. Like my Google Calendar is full and I had lots of things on my to-do list and I was just plowing through them. Whether that was a lunch with my nan or a like accounting form, both of those things were just checked off with the same intention. And it cannot be. It cannot
Mm-hmm.
like I cannot do that. I cannot live like that. But it was like only when I stepped back and realized, like, oh, sure, you have your to-do list done and checked off, and you're like, your life looks like you're progressing in a certain way, but you're missing it. And you're literally right
Mm-hmm.
there. Like you have to have intention in it. And that's why when I was coming, well, my friend Chelsea Knoftel, who's going to be so excited that I'm pumping her up on this, that she came up with the idea of yellow rose colored glasses for the podcast. And like, that's it, is like, there I think it's okay to live your life with rose colored glasses on at a certain point because it is like what's going to keep you joyful when you're plowing through the accounting and the things that you have to do in
Mm-hmm.
life because it's just that's just life.
Yep.
But you
Yeah,
can still be
exactly.
happy while you're going through it, or mostly.
Yeah, exactly. And like, and not to say everyone doesn't like make mistakes or like almost like what we were saying earlier, like need that downtime to like take care of yourself and things. But yeah, I just feel like for me, like I want to like be like present in what I'm doing and
Hmm.
have I guess like have a point to it, like not doing something just because I feel like I should. Like
Hmm.
it needs to fit. And so yeah, so that's how I feel for 2024. But I think that all
That's a
ties
good
in
word.
together.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Yeah. And there might be a long list here, but where can people find you in terms of like websites, social media?
To connect with me online, you can follow me on Instagram. My personal is MurphyAnna016, and Yellow Rose on Facebook and Instagram is Yellow Rose Made, MADE. And we're also online at yellowrosemade.ca. And everything else that I'm involved in is linked off my personal profile, so it's easy to find. So, yeah, I would love to connect with you guys.
I do try to like integrate my life into my business because I
Mhm.
think it's like really special to kind of like get to know the maker behind the products that you're purchasing and see that it's like it's really me. It's me and my team.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a couple other local businesses that that do that too. And I just thought of this additional question, but do you have any other local businesses that you like to support?
Yeah, so I am all about supporting small business. And even if you financially cannot contribute to a business, just like sharing and like I always say, spreading the good word of a small
Hmm.
business. I love Dear Dossie, which is in Posey Rowan Co. with me. I absolutely love Lara's Beauty Den. She's my nail girl, and she's actually my, oh my gosh, she is that 2 hour block with her every 3 weeks is my joy. It's like the most relaxation that I received during my whole life.
Yeah, I feel like my lash girl is like my therapist.
Absolutely. And it's amazing how like you make connections with these people. And I feel like I have really special connections with some of my customers. When I see them like at the grocery store, I'm like, oh my God, girl, hey. It's just like it brings me such joy to like know that those small businesses are creating these like micro communities.
Hmm.
But yeah, also Steph Datkins, and she owns Confident Complexions, and she's amazing. She is joy. So yeah, like support your small businesses in every way that you can because it's like I know that meme always goes around and it's like somebody's doing a happy dance because you support it, and it's like, well, I might not be doing a happy dance, but maybe I'm buying extra fruit at the grocery store, and like that's even better.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and definitely a reminder, like especially with Christmas and everything, to support local where you can.
Absolutely. And I appreciate that like often sometimes that doesn't feel accessible, but there are so many businesses and I think all of us do a really good job at having like financial access points. Like I try to have a product range in my store from literally $1.50 up to like higher price point items so that
Hmm.
there's always something that you can try and support with.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks so much for talking to me today.
Thank you so much.
I just love like your whole presence. I think you're great. So it was lovely talking to you.
You too. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Okay, thanks again to Anna. Loved that conversation. I was reflecting afterwards on my own year, and In my agenda, I keep, like, I always do the goals for the year in all different categories. And I came up with 10 in January of last year. And I thought it would be cool to go through them and see what I actually did and didn't, because I really didn't have a plan for any of these things at the beginning of the year. I didn't know how it was going to turn out. So I'll go through the ones that I actually did do, which is continuing this podcast, although it's not every 2 weeks like I hoped, but whatever, I continued it. I always shop secondhand before buying new, or I try and like find something secondhand before buying new. Sometimes it's harder to do that, but I do try. I wanted to go to Europe at some point. I didn't know when I was going to go, but I ended up going in April for like a month, which was amazing. And then I said continue to do yoga and spin regularly. And the reason I did that is because I think when you put it a certain amount per week or per month or whatever, you can get discouraged. And like I was kind of saying in this episode, like I know for me, it's not healthy for me to obsess over like how often I'm working out and like how I look and all that. I just know it's not good for me. So that is why I phrased it that way. And I would encourage everyone to do the same if you're going to do out goals for 2024. I will definitely continue to word them that way. Similar, I said to continue to grow at work, buy more local coffee, which is a good thing to do always. And what else? Then there was 2 that I didn't do until the past month. So I wanted to dye my hair red at some point, like ginger, which I did, and I'm loving it. It's much more of an upkeep than blonde, which I just didn't expect. So that's fun. I don't know how long I'm going to keep this going for. And my other one was to start therapy, which I did on December 5th. So it still counts. It was in the last month of the year, but I did start it in 2023. So very proud about that. And then there was a couple that I did not do. And because of the Europe trip that I mentioned earlier, I did not reach my financial goal of having a certain amount saved and whatever, but that's fine. It was worth it. And then my last one was to read 12 books. I thought I would read a book per month. But life is busy and we took a break from our book club. And so I kind of lost that deadline to have a book finished by. So I started 8 different books, which I read from time to time. I just haven't finished them. I haven't finished 5 of the 8. So 3 of them I did finish this year, and I'll take it. I'm fine with that. And like we were saying earlier, if you didn't have a big list of goals, if you don't feel like you really accomplished that much this year, I'm sure that you still had things that you learned or things that you want to take into 2024 with you while letting go of other things. And yeah, I hope this episode can at least make you feel that way. So I'm going to do more episodes in 2024. I'm going to take a break. I'm always taking a break with this because it is just for fun, but always open to comments, feedback, any ideas going forward. It's always nice hearing from anyone. I forget people are listening. I kind of just do this for fun, like I said. So yeah, you can find me on Instagram, TikTok at Newfound Happy Hour, and stay tuned for the new year. I hope everyone has a great Christmas, great New Year. I hope you rest. I hope you party. I hope you have a great time with no issues. Thanks for listening.